tax. So I have made this particular preamble because of the fact that the topic which I am likely to deal in, that is audit under section 65 and audit under section 66, which is a special audit, and the assessment provisions which are being contained from section 59 to 64. Because of my experience, I'm telling that here we are maximum professionals. How to face the actions of the department intelligently, and I would be emphasizing at rest of the provisions besides these provisions. Means whatever is being contained in assessment provisions and whatever is being contained in audit provisions, you might be going through those sections again and again. But the law is not codified in such a way that a particular provision is written under a particular section. The way I have interpreted levy of CGST, SGST or IGST is being placed into the law at 10 places. And this is the normal tendency since the inception of any law, come what may it is Income Tax Act 1922, or it is the Central Excise Law since 1944, or various VAT laws, or any other fiscal law, or even in any country. The law cannot be contained at one place. It has to be spread over into the definitions, then charging sections, then compliance sections, then payment sections, then appeal section. The investigation starts in the form of scrutiny provisions, then the adjudication provisions, then the demand and recovery provisions, then the investigation provisions, then the penalty provisions, and the appellate provisions, and then the miscellaneous provisions. So this is the normal nomenclature of any codification of law. And then this is also significant that no law can remain static. It has to rise like any other thing, come what may. It is information technology situation. It is a human being. It is the nature. It is the country. It is the economy. When everything is growing, then why not the law? So law is always growing through notifications, circulars, judicial authorities, and we have to keep ourselves abreast with the development of the law. Like to maintain our health, we go for a morning walk, or a gym, or a yoga center. But if we don't go, then probably we do not maintain a good health. Same way, if we are not keeping abreast ourselves on day-to-day basis this law of GST, then also the same problem will arise, that we will not be able to cope up with the day-to-day actions by the department. So let me share my PPT and start with what I intend to share with you about my knowledge of the subject. Whether PPT is visible to everyone, just write on the chat box. Good. Remain quite active on the chat box, then you would be learning more. Chapter 13 contains the provisions of audit under GST. I have purposely taken the audit provisions first before the assessment, because the audit provisions are nowadays more important across India. 17-18 and 18-19 year is being subject to audit in almost every state. As far as assessment provisions are concerned, they are of less significance because of the reason that unless there is a specific reason of mismatch, etc., before the authorities, then the action under assessment is taken. But in audit, the list is being created either by the central government or by the state authorities themselves, specifically for those assessees whose cash outgo as payment of tax is very negligible. So it means that in most of the cases, audit actions are more prevalent across India nowadays. So we would be talking much about this particular chapter, and then we would be taking on the last day the assessment provisions also. What I intend to say in this particular audit section, that we would be covering audit by tax authorities both under section 65 as well as under section 66. Under section 65, there is a normal audit which is taken by the tax authorities. And under section 66, there is special audit which is being allotted by the tax authorities to special auditors through empanelment procedure. Then we would be discussing whether this audit action is subject to inspection or it is a fait accompli. Inspection means that the auditors are competent to go and they are authorized to deal with the cash in hand, stock in hand. They can look at the computers, mobile phones, drawers, slips, or unrecorded vouchers, etc. at the premises of the auditee. So here I would like to clear that audit do not give power for inspection. The provisions of inspection are contained under section 67 to 72 as contained under chapter 14 of the CGST Act. And fait accompli means established facts. So the audit action is limited only to the extent of fait accompli. And what is fait accompli or what is established fact is that they can start with the copy of RC, your registration certificate, and then your purchase invoices, then your sale invoices, then your bank statement, then your books of accounts, then your various types of filing of returns, then your other statutes like tax audit report, 26AS form, your company law report, your cost audit report, your internal audit report, etc., etc. So they can go according to section 35, read with rule 56, 57, and 58. Means maintenance of books of account chapter can be invoked while doing the audit. So this is the difference between inspection or fait accompli. Then I would be talking about the methods and scope of audit. What are the shortcuts? You see, you may be an auditor as a special auditor, and you may be an auditee when department is taking action against you. Then review of financial statements. So while you are an auditor, suppose there is a company whose balance sheet is comprising 300 pages. So which particular page and which particular clause you should see to find any reporting by the auditors. Come what may, it is any kind of report. So we would be talking of various kinds of reports. It may be a director's report, it may be a cost auditor's report, it may be a tax auditor's report, it may be a company auditor's report, it may be a CARO report, any kind of report, how to see the report. So suppose you got a special audit of 100 crore or 500 crore worth of a company, you are not supposed to take 6 months time to complete that audit. So I would be letting you know some shortcuts that you can accomplish the task within 7 to 15 days. Audit by tax authorities. You see, before I go through these provisions of section 65 and section 66, read with rules and the forms attached with these particular provisions, I'd go straight away to some other issues. Means I'll go otherwise than what is being contained under the audit provisions. And you would be adding some value to your knowledge while facing the department of any action under audit. I would emphasize first of all on section 59. You see, section 59 is only in one and a half line. It says every registered person shall self-assess the tax payable. The highlighted portion is very significant. Self-assess the taxes payable under this act and furnish a return of each tax period as specified under section 39. What is the significance of this provision? The significance of this provision is that in earlier times, there used to be 100% assessment, both in direct tax as well as indirect tax. I'm talking about the period before 1980. Then slowly these self-assessment provisions started coming into various laws. Come what may, it is income tax, it is central excise, it is service tax, or it is VAT laws, and then finally the GST. The significance of this provision is that law is codified in such a way that once a taxpayer files his return, say GSTR 3B, it becomes an assessment order under the signature of the commissioner. This 59 says so. And any action thereafter under chapter 12, this chapter 12 talks about assessment provisions from section 59 to 64. Then chapter 13, audit from section 56 to 66, sorry, 65 to 66. And then inspection, search, seizure, and arrest provision from 67 to 72, and then demand and recovery from 73 to 74. So once the assessment of a taxpayer is complete under section 59, all these 4 chapters become redundant for the tax authorities. Means they cannot take any action under these 4 chapters. So while we face any action from the department under any of this chapter, our first objection should go that since I'm already assessed under section 59, my reassessment cannot be made under these 4 chapters. This is your first objection into your reply. And when I'm saying so, I'm making such a bold statement that once section 59 is complete, these 4 chapters becomes redundant. I mean to say, unless the authorities have reasons to believe. Now read the caution. Before taking any action under the following chapters, revenue must have reasons to believe to deviate from the self-assessment already made. Let me make you understand with an example. Suppose I am an officer and I went to a sweet shop and it is a Diwali season and there is a huge rush on the shop. I requested the shop owner that give me a box of sweets out of the way, being I am an officer and I am in some hurry. The shopkeeper denied to cooperate him, and very next day you issued him a summon or ADT 01 or ASMT 10 or section 7374 notice. Whether this is tenable in law? Answer is no. Means now under this GST law, the officers are not having naked powers to issue any notice to the taxpayers. They have to follow the principles of reassessment, as you may be knowing under section 148 or 148 capital A of the Income Tax Act. Similarly, under the GST law also, any action under chapter 12, 13, 14, and 15, they are the provisions of reassessment under GST. So before taking recourse to any reassessment proceeding, the officer has to mention in the notice the reasons, and the basis of his reasons also should be there. So I would be discussing upon various reasons also, what are the possible reasons that these 4 chapters can be invoked against the taxpayer. So this is your first learning, that you should object in such a way that section 59 says so, therefore your action defies the provisions of law. I would be making you smarter that how you should present your case before the authorities when you receive any notice at the very first stage. And whatever contentions I would be making here, that is not my personal opinions. They are based on judicial authorities. Let us see this Larsen and Tudor decision decided by the state of Jharkhand High Court. It says, where dealer claimed that goods were purchased on payment of tax. Dealer claimed that goods were purchased on payment of tax, but failed to provide mandatory declaration in Form 9C with other evidence, and hence reassessment order was passed. Assessing officer passed reassessment order on direction issued by the audit party and not on his personal satisfaction, hence invalid. So this particular decision pertains to the Bihar Sales Tax Act. Under that particular law, the provisions were like that the audit party used to do the audit function and then used to give the information to the adjudication authority. So the adjudicating authority, based on the information of the audit party only, on a borrowed satisfaction, completed the assessment of Larsen and Tudor. The Supreme Court, this is not a High Court decision, this is a Supreme Court decision. The Supreme Court held that on a borrowed satisfaction, a reassessment cannot be made since the assessee is already subject to self-assessment. So self-assessment provision, section 59, is of a far-reaching significance as far as any action taken by the authorities. Another decision. Assessee providing telecom services. This is a decision under the GST law, service tax law of Allahabad State. Assessee providing telecom services. Revenue in audit observed difference in GTO between written 13.86 crore and balance sheet 15.28 crore figures. Means there is a variance in written filing and balance sheet figure. In balance sheet, there is a higher turnover declared by the assessee in profit and loss account, whereas in written he declared a lower turnover. So the court held that no demand can be confirmed on the basis of such difference unless it is established that excess amount pertains to providing any service. So while you get any mismatch notice between 2A and GSTR 3B claim of ITC, ASMT 10, that notice is invalid because of the reason that in 2017 and 18, 18 and 19, 19 and 20, 19 and 20 is decided by a high court in the case of Wipro Limited. So these 3 years, 2A is not a legal form. It is not an enacted form. It is not backed up by any provisions of law. So my GSTR 3B information is a complete information and it is assessed under the signature of the commissioner while I filed my original GSTR 3B. So on this particular decision or the earlier decision will support you that authorities based on the variance of 2A, because 2A is a document which is not known to the law. So any information which is not known to the law, any variance cannot be discussed or thrown upon me to explain that it is a variance, I need to explain it, and based on that, the officer can go to raise a demand against me. So you must become litigants and you must reply the notice in such a manner that the authorities should be speechless and they should be powerless. Then second section I'm coming to. Up to section 59, whatever I have discussed, if you have any question, straight away raise on chat box. Or if you agree, you say, we agree, I agree, right? Quickly write. Let us participate on the chat box immediately after completion of one topic. If any participant is having any other issue, either language or speed fast or not understanding, whatever is going on into their head, they must come forward in the chat box quickly. Your silence will signify that you are not getting the things. Voice a little unclear. Is there any draft submission for challenging matching with 2A? I agree. Mr. Prashant, we would be talking on this topic at the conclusion of the sessions, whether we would be giving you some draft representations. 2A, 3B difference, how to reply. Agree. So there are almost agreement, and few of the members are expecting some draft reply. You should not preempt anything, because we would be comprehensively covering the subject. Now, second section. Second section is section 155. GSTR 2B and 3B difference in current date, how to reply. You should write the year, which year it pertains to. Yes, now we would be talking section 155. 21-22. You see, I have just started my topic. And Pooja, I have certainly having all these issues into my discussion, that how to reply 17, 18, 18, 19, current, what is 2A, what is 2B now, and what kind of issues that arise, everything I would be covering. The things should be limited only to 59. Your questions should be limited to 59. Now I am talking about 155. Your issue or question should remain only up to 155. You see, you have to travel with me 4 days, and I would be comprehensively covering all the things. So you should just be keeping some wait for the right time to discuss that particular thing. Burden of proof. Every law casts a responsibility of proving or burden of proof for anything right or wrong done by the department or by the assessee. So normally this burden of proof normally lies on the assessee. But in GST law, the provisions are very specific and in favor of the assessee. It says, where any person, once again, I am reading a section which is containing only in 1.5 lines. Where any person claims that he is eligible for input tax credit. Now this any person is assessee under this act. The burden of proving such claim lie on such person. Means that out of the gamut of questions or question after question being asked by the authorities during the assessment and audit process, my responsibility to prove is only input tax credit is rightly claimed. Come what may, it is valuation. Come what may, it is classification. Come what may, it is whether taxable or exempted or any rate of tax, etc. That is not my responsibility. If tomorrow department says that your valuation is not correct, suppose I'm a works contractor, and he says how much material, how much value addition, how much profit, how much direct expenses, how much relatable expenses, etc. Nothing I have to prove. I have to prove only that whatever input tax credit I have claimed, that is right. Rest of any deviation, come what may, it is mismatch. That is the responsibility of the department to come forward with reasons that I have made a mistake. So the second provision after 59 is burden of proof. Whenever any allegation is made by the department in any notice, come what may, it is ASMT 10, it is ADT 01, it is DRC 01, it is any other notice of whatever nature issued by the department, then any allegation to be refuted and reference to section 155 should be highlighted, saying that this is not my responsibility to prove that it is wrongly claimed. It is the responsibility of the department to prove without doubt, with evidence being communicated to the assessee, that I am a defaulter. So this is how you should learn how to represent your matter before the authorities. And then the third section is section 160. This is very important, even more than 59 and 155. 160, it contains two subsections, subsection 1 and subsection 2. Read this section very carefully, and most of the professionals are not aware of these provisions which I am talking about. I am talking about only 4 sections which are of paramount importance to face the department actions under any chapter 12, 13, 14, and 15. And these are the only 4 chapters again, under which the department take any kind of action. Assessment proceedings, etc., not to be invalid on certain grounds. Now, the first subsection 1 seems to be favoring the department, but let me tilt it in favor of the assessee. It says no assessment. Let us read it very carefully. No assessment, no reassessment, adjudication, review, revision, appeal, rectification, notice, summons, or other proceedings done, accepted, made, issued, initiated, or purported to have been done, accepted, made, issued, initiated in pursuance of any provisions of this act shall be invalid. Means no assessment, etc., shall be invalid or deemed to be invalid merely by reason of any mistake, defect, or omission therein, if such assessment, reassessment, adjudication, review, revision, appeal, rectification, notice, summons, or other proceedings are in substance. This substance word is highlighted. I would be talking about this word. Or other proceedings are in substance and effect in conformity with or according to the intents, purposes, and requirements of this act or any proceedings, any existing law. I mean to say, if any assessment or notice is defective, but in substance it is in conformity with this act or any other law, then that particular assessment or notice would be considered as valid. Law says like this. If substantially this notice is okay, then that notice would be deemed as okay. This is subsection 1. So this particular subsection 1 seems in favor of the revenue. But let me tilt it in favor of the assessee. This substance word is very important. Which are the notice or which are the mistakes which would be considered as minor and which would be considered as substantial mistakes. Means whether the notice is substantially valid or not. This is the issue I would answer. If there is no DIN, in case DIN is compulsory in that notice, in central notices, DIN is mandatory, document identification number. If year is not correct, if date is not put onto the signature, if fixation is not given onto the notice, fixation means that you are supposed to appear on a particular date and time, then signature is not there on the notice, year is not mentioned correctly. If all these things and one of them is not mentioned into the notice, that notice is substantially invalid. And top of it, if reasons are not stated into the notice why this notice has been issued, based on information and the cogent material evidence placed on record before the authorities, then that notice also substantially invalid. Now, my dear friends, you tell me, in how many notices you have seen, come what may, it is ASMT 10 or it is ADT 01 or it is DRC 01. I'm not talking about any investigation provisions here, because I am restricting myself to assessment and audit. You tell me in how many notices all these things are mentioned into the notice. I'm telling you once again, DIN, date, fixation date and time, year, name of the party, PIN number of the party, signature of the officer. If all these things and top of it is the reasons why this notice has been sent, and those reasons should manifest that those reasons are mentioned based on material available on record before the officer, then only that particular notice is a valid notice. Otherwise, you should make an objection into your reply that this notice defies the provisions of law. Then subsection 2. Assessment proceedings, etc., not to be invalid on certain grounds, same title. Now I am reading subsection 2. It says that service of any notice, order or communication shall not be called in question. You cannot object to tomorrow that I did not receive the notice. If the notice, order or communication, as the case may be, has already been acted upon by the person to whom it is issued. Now very significant, or where such service has not been called in question, add once again or, in the earlier proceedings commenced, continued or finalized to such notice, order or communication, means thereby if you have not objected to the service of notice in your reply, then that would be deemed as if you have received the notice, since you have already participated into the proceedings. So if any notice is invalid or it is time barred or it is for any other reason not a valid notice, or it is not being served to the appropriate or authorized person or at a correct address, then you should object that particular objection within your earlier communications. So before I conclude this section, I'm getting some questions. Mr. Navi Bhatt is raising hand. Pooja, would you like him to speak?
Mr. Navi, you can unmute yourself and you can speak your doubt, your question.
Navi, you
Hello?
can open your video and speak.
Sir, just I received notice under section 61.
Okay, ASMT
Sir,
10.
but yes, sir. But sir, for the deputy commissioner, there is only name mentioned. Not there are no signature.
Okay,
So that is acceptable.
100% you should object to it, sir.
Okay.
You see, in my practice, in my day-to-day practice, or in my old trainings to the departments, I have come across that none of the notice ever I have seen which is a valid notice. So this is a very significant area which I am telling you, and you should object to it. And if we go to a writ petition in a high court, then immediately that notice would be struck down. And entire proceedings from ASMT 10 until DRC 07, they would be quashed. So I am highlighting the sections and I'm telling you the provisions, and these provisions are normally escaping attention not only of the department but of the professionals. So while I'll complete a particular section, I will certainly give you a chance to speak or raise your issues. Right, sir? Should I go ahead? Mr. Navi?
Mr. Navi, please confirm if your doubt has been cleared or you need more explanation on this thing.
I think he is disconnected or
Maybe.
not listening anymore. So I have now here completed section 160. So this section 160 would help you to challenge any notice issued by the department that this is not a valid notice. Then earlier to it, I talked about burden of proof. Earlier to it, I talked about self-assessment provisions. And now I am coming to a very significant observation under section 169. This particular section talks about 6 types of alternatives of service of notice. It says any decision, order, summons, notice, etc. shall be served. Now this served word is highlighted by any one of the following methods, namely by giving it directly to the addressee, registered post, email, common portal, newspaper, and affixation. So normally what is happening nowadays is that either the notice is lifted on the common portal or it is sent by mail. So whether this particular kind of communication is valid in law, answer is straight away big no. That is not a right method of sending a notice. Suppose I did not see my mail or I did not see my common portal for a month. So whether the matter can be decided ex parte, answer is no. What is this provision exactly? You see, there is section 282 under Income Tax Act. Let me make a general observation that across world, there is no statute, neither fiscal nor civil, which creates a deeming fiction of service of notice. Way back, DTC was codified, a draft DTC law was codified, wherein the deeming fiction was tried by the authorities and which was struck down by all the luminaries, come what may, they were experts or judges or whomsoever. Means there is no possible way of deeming fiction under the law that the recipient is expected to read his mail or check the common portal. In the economy, which is a developed economy and where IT systems are not day-to-day habit of the people, then you cannot compel them to be habitual of going through their portals or emails on day-to-day basis. Exactly what this provision is, let me tell you. The provision says that the notice should be served by any of these methods. Now, these or 6 methods are being given to the authorities for their convenience. So they can opt for any method or multiple methods until the notice is being served. This is the provision. So you should object to any notice is being served on the portal. And if you see the portal say after 30 days, so you should write into the your reply that today I am in receipt of the notice at portal. The authorities will not compel you that you have received it 30 days ago. Similarly, if you are being delivered the notice through email, you can always say that I read the mail today, not 30 days ago. So how do I support my this contention? Let us read some case law. Bombay High Court. In writ petition number so and so, very recent decision, 15th February 2023. This is an income tax provision, but this will clear our doubt about this GST provision. The court observed service of SCN under section 148 capital AB on latest communicated address. One of the issue in the writ petition was proper address on which the notice should have been served. As per facts of the case, a notice under section 148A was sent by speed post on address, which was since changed by the SSC. And the new address was duly communicated to the IT department via an ITR furnished much before the date on which the notice was issued. Court opined that the purpose of issue of notice under section 148A is to provide opportunity to assessee to seek reply. If the assessee is not served such notice, it means he has been deprived of opportunity to reply, which is a jurisdictional error. Then, court observed. Therefore, the court opined that the notice should have been served on the last known address so that assessee gets opportunity of being heard. If AO chooses to serve a notice on old address which is not served, is not acceptable in law. Now read very significantly. It may not be out of place to mention that as per section 282, now 282 and 169 are parimetry, same language. It may not be out of place to mention that as per section 282, service of notice, read with rule 127. There are alternate mode of service as well as alternate address, portal as well as electronic, which are mutually exclusive. उन सबके बीच में भी और लिखा हुआ है. And there are no order of priority. यानी कि डिपार्टमेंट को पहले कौन सा alternate यूज करना है. That is also not written. The ratio of the judgment is notice must be served on last known address so that assessee get opportunity to respond. I don't think there is much more needed out of this latest decision, and if you go through this decision, you will find 20 more decisions are being followed by the Bombay High Court. Similarly, in the case of Sumanjeet, the Delhi High Court on 27 September 22 reiterated the same fact which the Mumbai High Court did. So you should always, you can read out this particular provision yourself. Now, there are series of decisions under any law that notice should be served in any case, even if the speed post is made at the correct address and the person is not at home. He has gone to Haridwar, he has gone to foreign country, he is in the hospital, there is a marriage party at home, the entire family has gone out of station. Then that notice, which is being, even if delivered at home to a security guard or to some other person, will not tantamount a good service, and that should be objected to, and the various courts would be in your favor in that particular situation. If on service of notice you agree with my contention, you say, yes, we agree. And then I would be moving to one more section 71. And then we would be concluding our today's discussion with your taking few of your questions. Most of you agree. In fact, by putting so many decisions on these aspects, I am not burdening this PPT. In fact, there are a large number of cases which are in our favor on these aspects. Without judicial authorities, I am not creating any of my personal opinion. Now, section 71C, very important section. Section 71(1), it mandates that any officer authorized by the PO not below the rank of JC shall have access to any place of business for the purpose of carrying out any audit. So suppose ADT 01 notice is being served on you for audit purposes under section 65. Then normally in large organizations, audit is being conducted at the premises of the taxpayer. So while the audit team is coming, they are supposed to demonstrate their ID cards and they are supposed to give you the authority letter of the Joint Commission. Otherwise, if some authority takes me as Virinder Chauhan along with them, how the assessee will come to know whether the team is authorized by the JC or not? Means before any access of any premises is to be taken by any authority, which is a proper officer or auditor of the department, they have to keep along with them the permission given or authority given by the Joint Commissioner along with them, which is a regular default done by the authorities because they are not aware of this section 71. Then section 71 subsection 2 mandates that the taxpayer shall provide requisite documents to the audit party within a period of 15 days. What they do, they issue you a ADT 01. Along with that, they issue you a questionnaire. And in the questionnaire, they specify that you provide this long list of documents within 7 days. And within those 7 days, there are 2 weekends also. So how possibly you can deliver all those documents within 7 days? So any notice which is not containing 15 days time, excluding holidays, then you should create an objection that this notice defies the provisions of law under section 71 subsection 2. Then I would be entering into what is electronic maintenance of books, because nowadays every person is maintaining their accounting in Tally or ERP software or some other software. So most of the taxpayers are defaulting on this aspect. So you should be very much aware of what is electronic maintenance of books. After completing this electronic maintenance of books provision, then I would be coming back to section 65 and then 66. And then we would be moving ahead about how to, what are the shortcuts of doing audit, then how to analyze various kinds of reports. And then would we be on the last day, we would be entering into the assessment provisions. And during this whole process, all your doubts, like Pooja asked one question, that what would be the fate of variance in 3B and 2B, sorry. And then what would the fate of the ADT 01 or DRC 01 notices or ASMT 10 notices, and how we should respond to the notices? Can I provide you a draft of letters, objection letters, which you can file before the authorities after modifying? And certainly you will be getting answer to all these questions. Over to Pooja.
Thank you, sir.